Hey, hello.
Hello.
Hello, welcome to another installment of things we are currently learning at work and figured others could benefit from learning too. So if you're here, it means one of two things. Either, well, you watch every piece of content that Pencil and Paper puts out. It's in which case we appreciate your determination and support. Thank you. Or you have a particular interest in learning how to improve your personal or team strategy when it comes to logging a rationale behind your UX decision. Yeah. So this is something we're working on internally these days. Ceara and I are going to chat today about why this effort has become a priority on PNP, and I don't know, maybe the methods we plan to use to improve the way we create, we track, and we reflect on our rationale throughout the project's life cycle. So, Ceara, do you want to start by explaining how we surfaced the needs for this new process at PNP?
I think I sort of started out my design career with this as like a pretty important foundational piece of how we work. So I worked on a super complicated product. Things needed to be really, really tight because it was a pretty large project with like a crazy data model and all of that. And we used to call it the design document at the beginning. And there was like a lot of, for me, there was a lot of like, I don't know, discipline that was taught in that process. Like rather than sort of being a cowboy and being like, okay, we're figuring it out. It's done. Whatever. Let's forget about it forever. My boss at the time was like, no, forget why you did everything you did. Then, 6 months later, we're implementing the feature and we have no idea what we were thinking. And so it was like, at least I was taught it as like a thing that you just have to do because you don't remember anything. But over time, kind of getting into a rhythm with it, it was actually a way more to also clarify your own thinking. And that's what I think like that's the part of it that I love for us to bring into PNP more and more.
What is design rationale, by the way? Can you summarize it in a way? I've even had some problem to summarize it. It would be fun to listen to you.
Yeah. So like, I think people call it a lot of different things. Like I went on Reddit and I started a thread on this topic. And people were kind of like, okay, we do a decision log in Confluence. We put stuff into stories. We do these different documentation methods. But for us, we centralize our design rationale in a documentation system that kind of starts at a really high level of design principles and then goes into a granular level, a feature level, big decisions. And really, it's a process around grooming that and being really almost intentional or explicit about these decisions, big decisions that we're making, and kind of logging them in a continuous way.
Logging them. This is system documentation. Let's talk about it, because something that you love and I love also. So documenting where and when and why and how.
Yeah, like it's like at such a high level. It's it's because you can't log every single little thing that you do, every single granular piece, but your overall like strategy on solving a specific feature or solving a specific problem, it evolves so quick. Like you change completely if you have one problem to solve, you change your approach to it several times probably as you get more and more information.
And that's exactly true. When we're designing something and we're diverging and we have a UI in front of us in Figma, whatever, and we're trying to fix this problem, we may forget why we're doing this and why we made this kind of decision. And just writing it down, it's a way to explain it to yourself, but also to explain it also to a client or whatever it is, or to your team. And so it's to documenting your decision when you're designing, where you're designing it, if you can do this right in Figma, whatever. It's a powerful tool. It's a really powerful, just to put the words and why you put the decision. What was the principles behind your decisions? It's driving even the design after that. When you look back at it, it feels like when I did a lot of wireframe with the persona around the wireframe. Why I was doing the wireframe, what was the problem I tried to fix, and how I tried to fix it. And now, while I'm iterating, I can go back and see, did I forgot about John and Jane? And maybe now, the design rationale is something you should add now in your space where you're designing.
Yeah, totally. And because it just gets so weird so quick. Those really annoying areas of the product where you've had similar conversations like many, many times about the specific feature.
Good point.
You forget, everyone's sick of talking about it as well. So that doesn't help. But you have so many in-depth conversations about this thing, and you really dig into it with like multiple people over a longer timeline. Where did you get to with your thinking?
And with all the what if and what's possible, and let me just try this, and what about that, and what about this edge case, and adding complexity where you may forget why you went that way first time.
Yeah. Which is kind of also the design principle aspect to it too.
Design principle is a good name also. But I love rational, why you made it. Not just the principle of, making it useful and easy, user-friendly and all of this, but why you came up with this idea or this UI or this experience.
Yeah. Because, design can be as long as a string. And so hopefully you can come back to some principles about what you want to emphasize, because you can do things in 100 different ways.
But
according to what you're trying to get to.
the reason stay. The reasons.
Yeah. And you can see I've sort of developed a bit of an intuition on when I see what we did in the past. I'm like, oh, that's because we didn't have at the time we thought of it this way. That's why that's there.
Have you seen a lot of design rational, evolve while you're designing? Or
Yeah, for sure.
alone or with a team, or how you evolve a design rational?
I mean, it's really about having a some discipline around having a moment with that whole picture and like doing your documentation. Um, and having the right kind of triggers of, oh, we have to record this. This is a really key decision. We
Oh,
have yeah,
I
that's
got it.
one.
You have a
So
conversation
it's
with
like
a
a habit.
team, yeah, and you figure out something, and you just find out, oh, this piece we have to remember it because everything will start from here, and you're documenting it into a design rational. I got it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, especially like, and sometimes too, like I've found in the past, I've done it where, you know, you do it per or whatever, and then you're like, oh, uh, we just need to get this detail that we need to remember down somewhere, and we've also used the design rationale document to just get some of those like product details or um, data model details or things like that down as well, as a place, because we know we're coming back to it, like we know we're going to deal with it with the items in there.
Let's be a little bit more concrete because I love what you're saying. We have an article about it. I will show it here, and we can talk about a couple of examples that you did. So this is, the Zombie Apocalypse Design Rational Edition. It's available right now on the website. You'll have a link in the description and on your screen. But there's some example here we can talk about. So let's talk about this one. This is a great example. Anatomy
Can
of a
you
design
zoom in a
rational.
bit?
Can I zoom in? I think I can do some stuff with my computers.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So with the design rationale, like with a section in there, it usually has a bit of a like structure to it in the way that we do it. So we have like what it's about, the feature or functionality that that section is about, the overall approach that we're taking, and then some logic and reasoning behind the approach, and any sort of like detailed information that just lets you understand it at a glance, or is like deeper references into more of the logic and reasoning kind of stuff. So that's the overall document structure that we've used.
So just by looking at it right now, if I was a new designer on a team, having a UI without this would, a UI with this, some documentation with this would make my life way much easier. So I can, try to understand it with actual word. And I found out that your rational over the time are getting simpler and more, even stronger in a way, the more you iterate on it. And if you look at your UI and you have this kind of structure around your UI, oh my God, it's helping not just the designer, but also the team to, everyone want to know the why you did this. Developers love to know why you did this. And if you have this conversation with developers, they will even design it with you a lot better. By the way.
Yeah, because they know where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Like they know what the intention is, and they know what you're trying to achieve, and how you decided to do it. And that just helps so much. I've been on teams before, like Software Suite, where we had to implement a universal navigation to our product that went across the suite. And you would think that would be the simplest thing in the world, like just slap the top bar up there and whatever. But we got it without any documentation. We just got like the beginning of the code, like a thing. And sitting there, oh, what about this case? What about that case? Thinking would happen if this was, the situation. So we just were winging it to the max. Okay.
And I found it very useful. And we talked about it on Slack as a team, what we do before a call. And sometimes just to understand what's the intent of a call, what you want to share to the team during a meeting, and just looking at this, having what's the feature, what's the approach that you took, what's the logic behind it, and some detailed info. That's this is what you need. And now you can talk about it in the team, and you're saving a lot of time.
Big time. Yeah. Yeah. So with this example, we have a specific feature, which is search, let's say. And we want to say, okay, allow users to access search from anywhere. And it's easier. And the reason why we want that is it's easier to get there from, the same place. So basically the flow there is like you're anywhere in the app, you can click the search icon and you can see the search results screen. That's the flow. And so if you just the next one, so we could so this is an in-store inventory ordering system, for example, and maybe you have discussions, you work through things, and you're like, actually, we should have separate search experiences. It is not universal search experience. We need to separate what you search for where. So given, for example, the sales associate will be working with clients, and the clients look over the shoulder and see the orders, product searches will be separated. And so we're kind of hinting in here that there's, user testing and stuff that's gone into a bit of this thinking. And this is a new type of experience. So instead, we actually have two flows that are presented instead of one, where you start for customer information and you go to the customer section, versus like order information and you start at a separate page. So they would both render different search results pages.
That's another example. But going back to search, I love when you're starting, with a rational, and then you evolve it and you talk about it as a team. And somehow, someone is repeating your word, and now the dev team, the product manager is repeating, the design rational, and now everybody is sharing the same language, and we talk about the same thing. And so having a simple design rational that explains everything, somehow with words, people will get around, and we will, have the same point of view because we're using the same, rational to explain, what's the design about. And that's also, again, very powerful.
Yeah, the alignment.
The alignment around the words and the why. Not just the why, but even we have the same, message that we are sharing. Yeah.
And I think too, like developers especially appreciate good logic.
I hope so.
I mean, everybody does, right?
You're not paid to be logical. Yeah.
But yeah. And so, when you're like, hey, this was the thinking, it was pretty thorough. I feel like just the buy-in and like just the excitement that you can get from the dev crew, like they're just like, yeah, they're fired up.
Yeah. And we have to say it's forcing designer to be rational also, I'm not saying we're not, because there's a problem, but sometimes, we're less, rational, a little bit more emotional. It's part of the job. Yeah. We have to design an experience that is both rational and emotional. But it's easy sometimes to just, look cute. Yeah, but why? And it's forcing us to explain it. And sometimes while you're writing stuff, you can maybe look at your design and say, ooh, that's exactly what I did. Or, I'm not going the right direction.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially when you have a lot of competing interests when you're developing this kind of stuff.
Good point.
People want things. Like the CEO wants something, and that should be, when it gets into the how, specifics of the how and things like that, it's like when you explain that's the logic, when you can explain the logic or the rationale and it just feels wrong, I think it's just a really nice, it's almost like a journaling activity that you go through where you like have some reflection of we're just doing it because it's out of the box,
Yeah.
For example, you can see that bad rationale crop up.
Yeah, that's true. You just writing a rational, you can see if it's bad, and can be a realization for the team saying, ooh, that's that's weak here. Something is weak. When you have a lot of user story, a lot of things to do, and you can sense that this part is a little bit weaker than other parts, just because we wrote it somewhere and we have it in front of us. It's not just in separate documentation. Sometimes it is, but I love it's very near all the design and doing stuff, the making and building stuff. It's there, visually. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to go through another example? You want to show?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Okay, so
sharing example.
So pretend we're in a clinical research platform. Everyone, put your lab coats on. Nice. So say we're talking about sharing projects. So this is a piece of software, it has projects. So we see this rationale: allow any user to add a new collaborator to the platform. So use the share now as the main action on the product dashboard, reduce friction for fast reviews and collaboration by anyone with existing platform access. So that could be some rationale that goes into it. So say in that situation, you go into the project screen, you select a project, and basically just add someone from there. So that could be where you start with. That could be like your first state. You want to pop to the next one, Benoit?
Yeah, absolutely. Right in. Oh, sorry. I know how to use a computer. That's
Great usability on our own website.
Zoom it a little bit more, too much.
Yes. Okay, so say, you have some discussions and figure out maybe that's actually not the right approach. So this can happen, you share project approval process. So you actually create a share now on the dashboard of the existing platform. And you actually have to introduce an approval process because of compliance related stuff. So this is kind of an example I wanted to put in here because we have the sort of smoothest and fastest default. And in a clinical situation, you usually have some friction that gets introduced because of privacy and things like that. So, but you could see that, okay, for example, if someone comes, why don't you just hit share now? It's so quick. Why didn't you guys do that? Then you know why we didn't do that, because you originally wanted to do that and that didn't work. You couldn't do that. So that was why I kind of wanted to share this sort of example.
Great example. Why not? Logging. Yeah. Even logging. It's maybe very simple, but it can be a monster.
Oh, can it ever? So now imagine you're in an event app for conferences. So there's, these are fictional stories, but they are based on reality. So, you have a lot of options on how people can log into an event app. People don't care about your event app. They just want to go there, add the things out, have their stuff for and then get out of there. So for login, for example, a magic link is a way to log in potentially, because people don't care to necessarily save this password and do all that password management. So magic link gives users a quick way to gain access without creating and memorizing a password. Okay, so maybe this is super seamless. And then actually, you go back and you talk to people and you find out more, and 100% of the users in the database have G Suite logins magically, okay? Making stuff up. So really, the most expedient and the nicest approach you can take is just log in with Google G Suite kind of integration. So magic link, no thanks. Take this new approach, basically. So the supplementary information in there that we showed was like a user survey and a spike that happened in Ceara to indicate that we have these different external things that are variables or information sources that are feeding into this design process, and you can see that connection between those things.
I'm looking at this one, and it can. Could it be a great epic or a good user story? And I'm not even sure they are an epic or user story or whatever. They are by their own, meaning you're explaining something with a how and a why at the same time. Sometimes you don't have the how. Sometimes you do have the how because you're explaining why you're using this tool, this process, or this way of this UX. So there's something a how. It's a little bit more, rich than an epic or just a mission for a feature. And I like this balance between why are we doing it and a little bit how and what's the direction. That's the goal of a design also. We're going that way together and to produce this UX. So giving you a little more information, but not much. Just with that, only with this use G Suite for login, we do have our rationale, and now we have just to go at it and do it. Yeah. So my question would be, what's a good design rationale? This is what's not a good design rationale. The do and don'ts of a design rationale.
That's a great question. I mean, the big thing with having any kind of documentation process is that you need like our article on the apocalypse situation occurring. And because you let these decisions compound, they all build on each other. Then you get to situations where you don't know why you did things. You look kind of potentially dumb in front of new people that don't know about this thing. Because you forget your rationale, you make bad future decisions. So there's like a compounding factor that happens. So a couple of do's are around the discipline of maintaining this thing, having an owner of this documentation process is important too.
Yeah.
Having everyone know about it and use it is important as well. Being bought into this process.
Everybody, even if it's a design rationale, it's not just for designers. Everyone can take a stab at it and improve it and comment on it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Because it really comes down, like, this is one of those that really represents the fact that we are knowledge workers, and the thing that we need to be good at is the way that we think and the way that we share that smart, hopefully, way of thinking with each other and work as a team to create something that's even better than any of us could do as individuals. And so, figuring out really effective ways to work together and collaborate and be organized and the details and just stuff in your brain is really important.
So auto layout in Figma is good, but writing, articulating your design rationale while you're designing is even more powerful. As a team, absolutely. And we have a great article. You can spend 15 minutes. It's a rich article, 17 minutes of stuff there with examples and the process of documentation and a couple of resources. So go read it. And if you have any comments, please, we'll if you're using now design rationale in your job, please share us some example, and I hope you will integrate this. Just writing the why somewhere and sharing it with the team will, we assure you, we are promising you, it will change the way we work. Just for yourself, just writing it, articulating it will be very useful. So now it's a new tool, 100%. And we'll try to improve that also in PHP. We have a couple of ways we try, here and there in different system, and even how we introducing it. Is it at the beginning of a meeting or at the end of a, work session? We go back, or is it at the beginning? We'll figure it out, but we're finding that having that, very close to our design is
Mm-hmm.
a must-have tool now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And another quick shout out to the article is that we made this one especially hilarious this time as well.
Yeah. Yeah, we
were
can be
off the
rational
leash.
and funny at the same time, you know?
Yes.
Rational humor. This is something. Good. Thank you, Ceara, for this. And
Thank you.
yeah, go read it. And if you have any comment, please let us know.
Yes. Awesome.
Have a wonderful day, Ceara.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, crew.